There actually is an easier way to automate your entire business, and it's actually with this new thing called Grok Bot. So Grok Bot, if you're wondering, has just come out, and this is what they call like your AI teammates. And this is a new thing from the new Cursor team that has joined together with the XAI team, and they call it Grok Bot. And so what it is that you can actually set up a persona. And if you've ever tried using Hermes or OpenClaw or any of those types of agents, I can't tell you like the headache that I've had to try to get them set up. And I've actually been using this for the last week or so, and it's just been really fun to get them set up and get going on my machine. And some of the tasks that I've been able to give it were to like just start automating my life. It operates with these things called plugins. And so this is kind of the part that I'm really excited about. So if you're a business owner looking to automate a lot of your workflows, you're just going to start to absolutely go crazy with this, because this is going to allow you to connect to your Gmail, all your different meetings, your Slack, your Notion. And so once you give it access to this, there are two different secrets in here that are really interesting. So Grokbot has access to your computer, but it also has access to its own computer in the cloud. And so that computer in the cloud, you just have to sign into your Gmail account or whatever accounts you want to do it online. And so no matter what agents you spin up, those agents will have access to it. The previous thing is that whenever you set up a new AI agent, for example, like in Hermes or in these other places, every agent you spin up will have to sign into Chrome again. We'll have to copy all these configuration files. So all of that stuff is pretty much removed. They've basically made it as easy as an interface as what you would use for iMessage and so forth. And so what's nice about it is not only is there a desktop app, but there's also an app for your phone. So on your phone itself, you can actually just launch the little Grok app and you can start communicating with it just right there on the fly. It looks just like iMessage. And for example, in my case, I can start giving it these types of things. This is an extremely exciting release, and it's currently in beta, and you can start using it, I think, if you're signed up for the Ultra plan. Also, if you're in a Teams account as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of going on here. I want to quickly show you something that's really interesting. I want to show you the computer that is currently on the cloud. So this is my Luma event coordinator. I am starting to host and run a lot of events with Luma. And so what I've started to do is that I use it now to kind of take a look at the Luma events. I say, out of the guests that are registered, can you just fill out the description for the event? And so it actually went through with its own computer and filled out the registration for the event. And what's really interesting about this whole thing too, is that I also had it set up some questions and answers to ask our guests. And then from there, I said, can you then give me a breakdown or give me a page of like what the responses are from all the different responses that people replied for our events? So if you aren't aware, we have an event that's coming up today at the Convex headquarters, and there's about 187 people who have signed up to go, and there's 32 people who want to basically commit to a lightning round, which they can actually display and talk about something that they've been working on using iOS. And so these are the responses that these people have replied back to in the Luma event. And when you get responses in Luma, it just gives you a giant spreadsheet. And so this is perfect for something like Grokbot, because I just told it to go through all of the responses. You already logged into my Loom account. Can you just build me a quick dashboard? So it built me a quick dashboard. And because I have it connected to my Vercel account, that's where the power gets unlocked. If you've not heard of Vercel, or if you've not heard of these types of things, it's okay. I'm going to go into some of those in a little bit more detail in future live streams and future videos. If you're thinking about this from a business owner perspective, kind of step back a little bit and think about your experience you've had maybe with ChatGPT, where you're just kind of having a conversation back and forth. Or maybe you're kind of like texting a friend or texting another colleague to get work done. Or maybe you've been working in Slack and you've had maybe Claude Code integrated in there. This is a little bit of a different experience, because these things start to kind of take on their own life in a way that doesn't feel like it's one AI agent. It kind of feels like a teammate or like a whole staff working for you. I'm just a single person and working in my business, and it's just kind of really cool to have these different personas working together. And so if you start to think about maybe changing the shape of your work and then changing the way that you shape your problems and hand them off to different AI agents, it's nice to just have them all in one place where they just kind of land on your phone, on your desktop, and they can continue running. So you don't have to have your computer open for all the stuff to keep running. It can just keep running on the cloud. And so what I'm saying here is that these connector pieces, like I was showing you inside of Grok, well, these plugins are going to be the power for how it actually will connect to your business. So in here, if you just go to the little plugins here at the bottom, it will show you how to connect your different things. And you can even make your own plugins and so forth. And so the plugins that I have and how it was able to ship this is because I've connected to a thing called Vercel. And that's what's just going to write the software, write the code really quickly. And that's already baked into the cursor plan. So the cursor plan will send off the agent to go do that. And it says, cool, here's what everyone's interested in. And then I said, this is great. And so I ran into a problem in my use case here, because what ends up happening is that whenever you have all these people who want to basically do a lightning round or basically want to do a presentation, I'm probably going to need a way to actually filter through that. So I just said, just go ahead and make an app so that when people get there, they can just scan a QR code and just apply to do the thing. So I just had it to go, I was like, go ahead and just build the app. So then it just built the app. I'm using Convex and I'm using Clerk for authentication. And then boom, it spins up a cursor agent and it literally just hands that task off and it just got merged into its own thing. So all I have to do now is just enter the credentials for myself. So as an engineer, it's kind of fun because now I don't have to spend time like prompting and following up. All I do is just kind of basically get a text message from my agent. And this is kind of where I'm looking at it here. And so it has its own computers, right? So I'm already signed in. It can do stuff for me on my behalf. Not only that, but I have another agent called a researcher. So in this new chat, I can summon my general staff. I can summon my researcher. I can even summon my health coach in here. So I can have a conversation with all three of them and say, hey, I'm trying to see if I can do some research here on like some of the best, DEXA scans in my area. So like, or something like that can help me with like an app or something that can keep track of this. So I could just say that like right now. So I'll say, hi, I'm working to see if I can, okay, let me see if I can do allow. Okay, cool. Hello, can you hear me? Hello there, darling. Can you hear me? So I have a problem because I'm currently on the latest beta. And so there is an issue right now with my Core Audio D just completely hammering my microphone, and Whisper Flow and everything is broken while I was streaming live with Ecamm Live. So you can see I just can't even do this. So what I'm going to do is just going to type this out real quick and say, I want you to help me brainstorm a simple iOS widget that we can build so it'll make it easy for me to take photos and enter my info on what I ate for the day. And that way I don't have to go to a website to see my happenings. I can glance down. I still want the website. So right now, all these three agents are in one chat right now, and they're basically going to work on my behalf. So the general staff has a sense of all of my machines. I have it connected to my Tailscale network. And so what's cool about the general staff is that it has access to all of my machines locally that are connected. I have a DGX Spark in my office. I have a Mac Mini. I have, my laptop here. And so if it needs to, it can SSH into those machines and grab any information. For example, my OpenClaw is sitting on my Mac Mini. So it can SSH into that machine and start to like query the database and do some cool stuff. And so I don't have to tell it. I just tell it my goals or my outcome. And then the researcher just has tasks on how to research and do stuff online. It could, any other agent can do that here. And then Max Recomp has all of my stuff in my recomposition journey. So I'm actually on a journey to basically lose, to get down to 10% body fat. And so on this journey, I've been, taking pictures, sending it my food, and doing all kinds of great stuff to get on my way there. And so I started this out in an OpenClaw, and I'm basically trying to convert that into a Grok Bot. And so the Grok Bot has been basically handling that for me. And one of the advantages of Grok Bot right now is the ability to connect to MCP servers. So that's a big unlock right now. And what I did there is like, hey, we can connect to Withings. So in my plugins, I went to search here and I just said Withings, and it didn't even have Withings listed. And so the actual Grok Bot found that there actually is a Withings Health Coach MCP, and it connected it for me. And then it used the browser to log into the Withings app. And then from there, that's where I was able to like authenticate it. And then now it just pulls in stuff in for me. So one thing, if you're maybe working in business right now, you're trying to figure out, okay, so now that we have this, how do I give it tasks so that I can just kind of have it work by itself? And it kind of just feels like it's just doing everything for me. And so the next thing that you want to do is probably set up a thing called routines. So routines are something that you can set up at a schedule at any time for it to wake up and do something. And that's really, really cool and extremely powerful. It's especially powerful if, for example, like you have a chief of staff and you want it to wake up, check your emails, do some type of synthesis and send stuff to you, or check in on certain things at certain times. So what you can hit here is you don't have to even do these. You can just talk to the agent itself and it can set them up for you, because this is what it did for me. But if you wanted to manually add them in, you can hit on the little sidebar on the right. You'll see this little computer sign and hit the plus. And so this is what it tells you as far as what you want to name the routine, what it should do, and then when to run. It can send you Slack messages, set up stuff in Git, update the linear, or do any stuff like that, which is super powerful, right? So in this case, every morning it's going to check my scale and see if I've even weighed it myself. And if I haven't, by 9 o'clock, it's going to recheck and then send me a message saying, hey, Ray, you haven't weighed in yet. Can you just go ahead and check in? And so this, you can see every time it's ran and when it's running here. And then also like by noon, it'll check it in as well. Every Sunday I have a recomp review. So it's going to review everything that I've been eating. It's going to review kind of like how I've been doing for the week as far as all my numbers and everything. So this is all of the instructions in there. I did not write these instructions. The agent did it himself. And so it is actually itself kind of doing that for me. So this is like a conversation that I've been having as far as when I tell it how much food I've been eating and I weigh my food and I kind of tell it, you know, how to do all this stuff. And I can't tell you how powerful this is because it's really, really fast at chatting back and forth. So as you can kind of tell here they are, the agents are all talking to themselves. It says, I love this. So this is my general staff. My general staff agent has already come back and said, you know, I'll keep the site as a source of truth, the widget as a glance and whatever. And so the researchers now, the technical constraint would worth baking into a Brainstormer's widget kit itself has a glance only, no camera, the pattern that stays simple. So this is kind of the agents now talking. And then my recomps guy says like, hey bro, I'm not a tech bro, but I know a lot about Ray's health. Let me just chime in here and kind of fill you guys in on these details. So it says minimum glance is going to be the day type, calories left, last meal. So it's actually telling them what the requirements for the app should be based off of our long running conversation for the past week, right? So and it's even telling them what Ray's even asking for. So I don't have to be in this conversation. I'm just handing it off. And this is only within just a week's worth of use within my personal use case plus business. So, you know, business is one part of it, but also my health is just as important because the health is actually what fuels the entire business. And so you can see how powerful this is just off those short conversations. And then when you start putting these types of agents into a chat. So what makes this different is like, if you're an engineer and you've had success setting up OpenClaw, I've seen so many people struggle just getting them talking to each other in Discord. And then when they're talking to each other in Discord, they just kind of go crazy and they like kind of go, you know, kind of insane, if you know what I mean. This is a much more refined experience, but the other killer part is the fact that it's also on the phone. So like I have this exact conversation on the phone and I'll show you right now. So like this is my conversations and it's right there. And so when I tap it right there, I could just see all the conversation that's been happening and it just continues on through. So like that's crazy convenient because now I don't have to be tied to my machine. I can just start, you know, walking around and continuing this conversation and even building the app remotely while I, which is mind blowing. So let me catch up a little bit. I've been kind of behind on the chat. I know this is currently a live stream. It feels like a recorded video, but this has just been so like amazing. And I'm really glad that I was able to get early access and give feedback to the team on some of these workflows. I haven't even talked about some of these other workflows, and I just kind of want to get to answer some of your questions and stuff like that. So, yeah, Cursor is cooking my way. Yeah. By the way, pstack, I'm pstacking and it's in God. Yeah. So last night, if you haven't tuned in, there's a thing called Potato, Potto. And it is literally like, yeah, God mode for cloud agents. You can do a lot with it, and that's kind of what I'm using right now. So big shout out to Alex Jones 8770. We got Max Apologies saying good morning. We got Fooled by Prime says hello as well. Live testing, I just saw this launched, and it was researching. Yeah, Really curious about the good native computer use, strict screenshots. It is really good at computer use. It's extremely fast, and I really appreciate it. Tech friend, what's going on, man? Yo, I got to catch you up on the redesign, man. This is pretty fire. I got to get you up on that. So that's what's up. This is Jenny. I love Vercel Next.js. It's super easy. The jailbreak channel. Okay, hello. Got to be careful. Does it allow custom plugins? Yes, you can just, everything you can do inside a Cursor as far as plugins, you can install your own custom plugins as well. It's your own dedicated machine. So dedicated machine on the cloud and also your own machine as well. So they can run in both networks, which is super cool. Does Super Heavy include the Cursor 200 sub or is it separate? I believe it's separate, and I think this runs on a Cursor Ultra. There is some questions and answers, I think, at the bottom of this. Let me just kind of get to that because there was some of that as well here. So I think they're saying that for the pricing is a Cursor Ultra plan. So this gets you the Grok's own computer. It signs into your tools, routines, schedules, and all this stuff. So that's kind of where you're at. So already on Cursor Ultra or Super Grok Heavy, Grok Bot is included. Okay, so it looks like Grok Bot is also included in the Super Grok Heavy plan. So that's the $300 a month plan. I'm currently on Super Grok, not Super Grok Heavy, because I have access via the Premium Plus from X. So that's kind of like the difference. I know it's Grok. There's a lot of different words here, but there's, you know, a lot, not that there's some confusion, but that, yeah. So yeah, the bots have their computer. They can work inside your apps and tools. And then how much does it cost? I think this is the question here. So subscriptions come with weekly usage included, with additional usage billed based on token costs. So enterprise customers should talk to the Cursor account teams for early access. Yeah, and then so somebody maybe have got questions about data privacy as well. So it uses the same as Cursor's SSO, and privacy mode you can already trust. So the cloud computer is encrypted in transit and at rest, and with training opt out. That's cool. That's actually kind of cool. So sensitive actions go through auto review before they run, and enterprise admins can set DLP, search proxies, and network controls at boot. That's amazing. And so if you aren't aware yet, I haven't even got into that feature. If I wanted to, I can control my agent by, like, for example, for the Luma event guy, I can open up the computer and there's a thing called teach task. So if you hit teach task, this will record my session as I click through certain things. And what that enables the agent to do is then learn that task and repeat that task over and over and over again. So if you're someone who's working maybe an admin job and you're always doing the same exact workflow all the time, literally just hit this record button, hit teach task, do it, and then it'll make a little skill file for you. And then from there, all you have to do is just tell that agent to just, hey, here's this new client, take a picture of whatever they give you or something, and then it will fill out that form for you on your behalf, right? There's just so much stuff like that's really cool. I did that same exact workflow when it's called Ticket Snagger. So I got a parking ticket, and so I just said, here's the picture of the ticket. Can you just go fill in the details? And that way I could just fill in my credit card at the end. And that's what it did for me. It just did that for me without me kind of touching it. So I think that's actually really cool for how that works and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of like a cheat code, to be honest, and it's a really cool way of doing that. So where's dark mode? I think it does have dark mode, but right now I'm in the California sunshine, so I'm gonna have to pass on that for now. Yeah. Grok Bot in macro hard will be the enterprise simulator. Yes, I probably. Is it better than Buzz? I think so. I think it's better than Buzz for a couple of reasons. One is because of the speed. It's extremely fast to use Grok. Grok, if you've not been using Grok in general, or Grok 4.5, the agent is really, really fast. Two is like the conversation at which you can put all these different agents together and work really quickly is amazing. The integration with the computer is just unparalleled. Just having a remote computer do stuff for you that stays signed in, that you don't have to manage all the time, is amazing. I just had a really slow time with Grok, with Buzz. And when I'm having like another teammate and everything work with it and even try to contribute the open source like compute, it just took a long time. There's something crazy about how fast a computer can spin up, and then having this plugin ecosystem work for you. Like all of this stuff really starts to compound more so than spinning up another thing. I think there's a lot of promise inside of Buzz. But as of right now, if I were to choose between the two, if I'm a business, I'm easily going with the Cursor Grok plan. Whatever the thing is to get this thing up and running and get my employees on there as fast as possible. Record your tasks. I would just tell them, put everything you possibly can, let an agent do it for you. It's very, very powerful. So if you're thinking, if you already have a Claude code plan, you're like, well, how different is that from this? It's very different. And I'd say this is a much smoother experience. It's a little bit even smoother experience than maybe Codex. So with Codex or the new ChatGPT work stuff, the computer use is really, really good. And you have to spawn in these different chats. But there isn't anything that is more central around a concept of having it as an agent that works for you. ChatGPT work for me, it feels like it's a bunch of different threads that I'm chasing or a bunch of different projects, which are cool to organize. But whenever you have something like this, it's like combining ChatGPT work with OpenClaw so that they kind of work together. And then the compounding effect are, I think, the plugins and then the routines. So you can create the routines for triggering workflows to do stuff, whether it's on a schedule, whether it's like linear, whether it's Git or Slack messages, but then throwing them together to brainstorm and help you with different project ideas and so forth. So imagine doing this on a team, imagine doing all this other stuff. A little bit different than Slack because these guys then take on their own personalities. You're not dealing with one entity, you're kind of dealing, for me, what feels like separate entities. So that with the cloud computer, I think this is kind of the right shape for where the future of work is going to be like delegated per se. And once you start to kind of wrap your head around this way of thinking, then you will just kind of always want to throw things to your companion and just kind of not that you'll forget about them, but it's just a really nice, like fluid back and forth, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of what makes it feel really good. What's up, Ray? Glad to see you on Grok Bot. Yeah, man, Dan. Like this is really good stuff. I really like it a lot. So it's not included in the $60 cursor, correct? What's potato? Bro, I got to fill you in on potato. This is probably the craziest thing. If you haven't heard about this, let me see. It's called PStack. PStack potato. Actually, I think I might have it in a different thread over here. So here is let's see, potato. No, this is not it. It's over here. So Lauren from Cursor, absolute legend, absolute legend, made this thing called, like, this is amazing blog post on how she uses Cursor. And like, it puts me to shame because I was like, okay, cool. I have like 100 cloud agents a day. My girl did like 100,000 plus cloud agents just in a month. It just like is amazing because I think this probably says it all. I'm not a president or CEO. I've worked with millions of lines of code at Meta, Netflix, and Cursor, and I'm also on the React core team where I help build and maintain the React compiler. Let's just stop it right there. But this is my favorite part. There's a growing sense that AI writes too much slop code, and I agree. I don't want to ship like a team of 20 slop artists. Throughput without quality is not a goal I aspire to. If you want to go fast, go deep first. So PStack is my answer. These are the same skills I use every day to ship high quality code at Cursor. And it turns Cursor into a real engineering team. And the goal is not to minimize lines of code. In fact, is to do the opposite. So PStack helps you write less, but higher quality code. And so the fearless parallelism is probably the best thing. And you can start multiple agents with potato mode. And so all you have to do is hit /add plugin PStack, and then Cursor will know what to do. And then you run the setup PStack. And then when you want to actually query it, you literally just do /potato mode. I'm going to bed. And so I want to show you this exact chat because this is what we did last night. I said, potato mode, I'm going to bed. PLZ, please follow the doc design handoff for the redesign and like, peace out. That's what happened on yesterday's stream. If you want to go ahead and see that, it ran for 4 hours straight and it turned my slop design like this. This is my AI slop generated, garbage into this. Like this is what happened afterwards. Like it just did the whole redesign. There's a collapsible thing. This is my AI clipping app that will go through my actual live stream and clip everything. And it just turned it into this like nice, much more pleasing thing than like this. This had just this was too extra, But this is like it's MVP style, right? So I'm just trying to like move fast and do things. And this is the power of the PStack /potato mode. Y'all got to get up on this. Even dark mode's included in here. I mean, this thing absolutely cooks for 4 hours. It did everything. And you can see how long this plan did. It generated this plan for us. This was the whole plan that Potato Mode made. I didn't have to touch it. I just said, I'm going to bed. Please follow the redesign. Like that's the redesign I got from Claude Design, and just go ahead and cook with it. That's it. That's it. It did the yeah, this whole review, there's 25 commits. It was running checks. It was like testing itself. You can see all the fixes and like all the stuff, like all that stuff's in there. So if you haven't heard about this is what I'm saying. Lauren is a legend, Poteto. If you haven't followed her on Cursor, must. There's so much alpha in there. Like, yeah, this is just absolutely cracked. So yeah, that's Potato Mode. It's a plugin you can install. It will just absolutely just cook beyond anything you can imagine. So yeah, that's what's up. I just wanted to make sure I covered that as well. So that's that. So now I have Grok mode, right? And I can have Potato Mode. So I could just say Grok Potato Mode, do something. And so the agents will then use that plugin now and ship software for me on my behalf. So all I have to do is just like use Potato Mode, and I don't probably won't even have to say that anymore. After a certain time, I'll just keep telling it to, make a new app for me, or check a look at these PRs, take a look at the open GitHub issues, or hey, can you go ahead and set up these issues and go fix it for this repo? So you can assign an agent to your repo if you wanted to, and then just have it work on that project. So you can have, basically start making your project management team. Just start working in this whole thing. It changes your life. It's just so crazy. So can multiple Grok bots work together on one artifact? Yes. Yeah. You can pretty much do anything because it's just one computer, and they'll start talking to each other. Super cool to see SpaceX is doing a pending Cursor acquisition. Yeah. How do routines interact with Grok bots? So routines are per the Grok bot. So the routines are like the things that you schedule. And so whenever you go in here to like the right-hand side, you can say add a member, you can create a routine. And so these are the ones that will basically, the routines are tied to the conversation here. So in this conversation, you can add a trigger to do something based off of whatever is happening here. And you can just say, can you create a routine? Just, explain it in here. And then they can create the routine for you on their behalf, saying like, whenever there's a new change here, or whenever there's a spec update, or whenever there's a new bug, send me a Slack message, or whenever I get a new linear or Sentry issue, send an alert to the Slack to make sure those folks are notified. Or if there's a PagerDuty incident on my app, please notify these people. You don't have to write it out. Just tell the agents in here, and then that's kind of how it would trigger for you. So that's a good question. Is Grok Bot working locally in a VM or online in a cloud VM? So it can work it works online on a cloud VM, and it also works on your machine. So there's a couple ways of doing that. So when it connects to your VM, this is basically your, you can see how it's doing its own thing. Like each computer has its own, it will share like the logins. You can see I'm already logged into Gmail here. So wherever I'm logged into, like on those, like all of these have the same like cookies and stuff for the computer. But you can see it actually spins up almost like a new login or a fresh desktop for you to work. So if I open a Google browser here and I go to this computer, I can see like this is going to have like a different browser, but it's still logged into my same credentials. So the credentials are shared across the different computers, and it's the same cloud computer, and it runs in a data center basically. Then you can also run your own stuff locally because Grok hooks up to your own machine. And so then you can tell it to like say, hey, on my machine, can you do X, Y, Z? And like, for example, I have Tailscale set up, but I also have Tailscale set up on my cloud. So Tailscale set up in this cloud network, and my general staff can start to go talk and look at, my OpenClaw and do these other things, which is like super helpful. So that's kind of that in a nutshell there. So that's crazy. I only got the boss to get Cloud Code though. So it's only for the Cursor optimized. Yeah, it says Cursor Ultra. Yeah. Yeah, you got to get the higher plan. Jay Lee, what's going on, man? Yeah, what's going on? Everyone's kind of popping into the chat. That's what's up. So is Super Grok heavily suitable for Grok Bot? Are the weekly limits enough? That's a good question. I don't actually have a clue on that. And I would think that it would be more than enough, to be honest. If you have any problems, I would just definitely tweet them. And everyone's kind of on standby, kind of like, cooking right now. So, and they're kind of paying attention to what's going on. So I think that's kind of the best way to do that right now. As far as plugins, yeah, like right now, the next things I probably want to set up are going to be the Gmail stuff and like the Google Drive and then Google Calendar, and then set up my chief of staff. because I haven't really set up the chief of staff. I've been doing other stuff around it, like just in my business. And I was just like, let's just see how good this is. So there's just so much opportunity. And I just can't believe how this can just keep going and going and going. So yeah, just best believe that there's just a lot of opportunity for everything to kind of keep ripping here. And I just kind of wanted to make sure that we answered some of those questions. What is really interesting is that Eric is also sharing 100 use cases here for this whole thing. So he's talking about booking meetings, taking sales play, so they can take 90 minutes to 2 hours. So the SQL, copy, reverse. So think about all these things you do in your business. You can just start doing this. A multi-bot GM crew, chief of staff that routes the largest specialist fleet, rebuild the most custom CRM, a community ops fleet that saves 20 hours a week. I mean, it's already doing stuff for me in Luma where I don't have to do that. Screen 1,000 event applicants against an ICP and batch approve the fits. See, you could just, because it has its own computer, it could just do that stuff, especially while you sleep, and it doesn't take up those resources, right? Review 200 recruiting apps. It's like, yeah, update a sales deck, localize. This is really crazy stuff. He just keeps going. Turn call questions into a living Notion fac and updates every morning. So because you give it access to Notion, maybe even your Granella, or even in Notion, if you're already taking transcripts, you can just have it start scrub through everything and it'll just start to operate on your behalf, right? Watch LinkedIn for compelling events and get weekly digest, send personalized LinkedIn events. I mean, it's going to control your own thing. It's really good. Scan ad performance, watch a competitor's pricing page, and Slack you when something changes, right? Learn your writing voice. 30 minutes after a call, send a follow-up reminders in a character's voice. Walk around missing bulk and role permissions. These are really good, answer what did we promise this customer from contacts Slack CRM. Turn a recorded demo into a tag clip library for the next one. This just keeps going. So there's a lot of cool use cases, and this is really, really fun. Yeah, I'm super happy that I got early access to it and stuff. And I feel like this is just the beginning, and I think it's just a new way of thinking about how you're going to work with these AI agents and stuff like that. So Matt Schumer has also been a critic of Cursor quite a bit. And so his experience has actually been a little bit different as far as like eye-opening for him. He's like, as many of you know, haven't had the best experience with Cursor products, but this one actually feels different. The best way I can describe it is an agent for everything, not just code. The interface feels like iMessage, and you can create bots that each have a job and actually get better over time as they learn how you work. And so there are a lot of products attempting this, but little details are what makes Grok Bot special. I think that's probably what it is just those little small attention to detail. But the other part for me, it just feels like the compounding effect of having the plugins available in Cursor and then like the P-stack thing, right? So I could just kind of say words and it just kind of knows what to do. I've set up like my brother with an OpenClaw, and I've set up like, myself with an OpenClaw. I have like 3 or 4 of them, and it's the same Mac Mini. I'm having to configure them, but it's just not the same, if you know what I mean. So in this case, I feel really great because now I have a dedicated machine, and it's not like on my Mac Mini at my house or anything like that. So I can just, it's on the cloud. I could also have stuff on my machine, and I feel like I can have like a little sandbox or something to kind of play in. And I think that's kind of what also kind of makes this special as well. So tip, you can also connect multiple accounts via the same MCP. Oh, that's a good point. Yes. Yeah. So MCP is huge, right? So the connectors to connect, accounts with like Gmail and stuff, you can probably do that as well. So Grok Bot reminds me really heavily of Agent Zero, by the way, nicer UI and easier to use. Yeah. So like, yeah, Grok Bot is a nice UI. And I think the cool part is just the fact that of how smooth it is on your phone and also on your desktop as well. So we're using Grok Bot on LinkedIn on a computer, contrive LinkedIn terms of service. I mean, if you're logged in, whether it's a computer on your remote machine or and you're controlling it, you're controlling it. I mean, I don't see a problem, right? Like, I mean, I'll leave that on you to interpret. So the fountain looks majestic today. Oh yeah, because the timing of the actual everything. So yeah, the lighting. I think we're at 2:00. I need to kind of leave this space pretty soon, but would love to answer any more questions, or if you want to see some more stuff. I think this is kind of it's a really cool breakthrough that they're kind of chugging away at, and I think this is going to be a really fun thing to do. So As far as like a content creator, chief of staff, so my chief of staff is working on right now. I gave it a task because for my actual bot called Honu, what it does on my OpenClaw is it generates a macro brief. So the macro brief every day gives me, let me see if I can see Telegram. So on my Telegram, I have this macro brief, and I'll see if I can play this for you. I don't think I could play it, but this is what generates every day. I get a little brief on kind of like what's happening in like the macroeconomic news. So energy, what's happening in consumer, treasury, and labor and stuff like that. And this is currently powered by my OpenClaw. So this is something that I kind of want to hand over to my Grok Bot and see if it can actually kind of help with this. And I think it's really, really cool because this is currently using my DGX Spark to generate the audio for this. And so it gives me like a little bit of a morning podcast. Like, so if I'm walking, I just play this and I can get a sense while it's playing and listening. I can, tap around to the different areas and kind of catch up or see if there's anything that is really interesting. So like, there's no, like I'm watching certain things like the Hermes and like treasury data. And a lot of this stuff for me in the morning would take me like an hour plus to go through each of these different sections. Like what's the price of gas and energy. And then I try to put it into like a big spreadsheet and, like just kind of like slow automation. But this is kind of the nice final form factor that I've arrived at. And I don't have to diff all the information. The bots are really good with that. So I'll keep you up to date on how this goes in this configuration, because there's a lot of different stuff. This is driven by Convex on the back end. So Convex on the back end is actually taking some of the queries and hitting Exa and then updating live in real time. And so when that agent hits it, it just gets all the real-time data. And as data is updated, it just, updates that and it's available. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, more on that in a little bit. So I'm going to try to get that set up here. I just gave it the instructions to go look at the OpenClaw because it has access to my Tailscale network. And so it SSH'd into my Mac Mini. And the Grok Bot is now pulling some of that information and trying to see if it can build this whole brief into a new chat agent for us. So this is the breakdown. So why Exa and not Firecrawl? Right now, Exa is extremely fast. The query speed for which you can get mountain loads of data is insane. And then the second part of it, there's this feature called monitors. If you aren't familiar, there's this thing called Exa monitors. This is like changing my life. Exa monitors. So this is something that not a lot of people talk about, and I need to make a video on this, is basically you can have them monitor topics and things, and they can actually come back with the results. So like 10 results or whatever results you want. So I have them monitoring various topics. It's especially helpful for finance. So in this case, Exa AI monitors. So what's cool about something like this is that it does the automatic deduplication, gives you structured output, and has scheduling. So I don't get charged for the same query hitting the same site if it's the same results, because it's all cached. And so I only get charged if there's new results, and the cost is like extremely low. And so this is perfect for market intelligence, monitoring if stuff is shifting, research papers, like all this cool stuff. So telling the like query to go do certain things and look for certain topics, my OpenClaw was driving what those queries were. And then if they're still serving it, it would then my OpenClaw is the one that's actually now just getting that information raw. So it saves me a lot of step and a lot of code and a lot of LLM context, because I don't have to use an LLM to like start to like deduplicate a lot of the information that's coming back. That's on Exa. And then the second part is cost. It doesn't cost me again to keep querying for the same topic or to get the latest information for a topic. So to create a monitor is actually pretty simple. You just find the context, you update the thing. I don't have to do this. You just give it to an agent. It can go use the websets. So Exa's websets are incredibly powerful. They're incredibly they probably have much more. For me, it just like the depth of data is incredible for what they have, especially for breaking news and macroeconomics and for powering like all of this like pretty in-depth, complicated data. And if I use something like Firecrawl, I spend more time updating an agent and like fixing broken code from all the responses versus getting something that's really structured back and ready to go. Firecrawl does provide structured data, but then I have to spend more tokens to basically like figure out the duplication, what's the same, what's changed, and then also the filtering of the data too, because the data quality also varies depending on the sources. Because there's now new bots that are generating fake websites that are showing up in SEO headlines, and they're starting to rank. And so with the same results with Firecrawl, like I don't get that like high fidelity behind it. It's just like raw internet search, which is okay, and that can be useful for certain things. But yeah, Exa has a speed, the deduplication, the massive data set, and this is just running as a query, and it gives me the results at the intervals that I want for what I need. So hopefully that's helpful. That's what's up. Yeah. Cool. Does it give you citations on the results? It does. Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Firecrawl has monitoring too, and Firecrawl search is very quick and more accurate. Is it benchmarked against Exa? I'm really curious. Let's see. Visit link. July 2026. I'd love to try this side by side. Simple QA. So this is not for the monitor though. This is just for a search query. A factually benchmark. October 2024. Okay. I'd love to see your data sets. Is it open source? Is your like methodology for read the docs? Is this actual? Yeah, Eric, if someone from OpenClaw can show me your repo for how you do the like what specific test you're doing, because like, is it benchmaxed? Is it not? I have a lot of questions because this has been my biggest pain point is like deduplicating the data and ensuring accuracy, especially in financial data, because financial data is like full of like crap. Yeah. But are the actual data sets that you use for the benchmarks and tests, are those open source? That's what I'm curious, because I just see simple QA, but I don't see the actual benchmark for this in here, because it just says the documentation in the playground. So read the docs. Yeah. Super curious. Awesome. Okay. This is cool. Yeah. So yeah, we've done a lot. So, I mean, you can see the power of thinking through automations can be really interesting here. So tasks like what I'm doing in an OpenClaw, like to try to transfer that to give it to other team members is really hard, right? Like, it's just like, yeah, let me just give you access to my OpenClaw, where I could just say, hey, can you just include my finance bot and just tag it into your chat, or include it in a group chat and start having a conversation on the latest financial data? That's cool. Like, I want to be able to do that. And that's kind of why I'm migrating it from the OpenClaw into my Grok Bot, because I wanted to start to have conversations, have multiple agents have conversations with them, have it go discover things on my behalf, maybe have it go update things as well. So I'm, possibly thinking it's like, okay, if I have something that's monitoring some finance thing or something that's monitoring news, I can just say, hey, finance bot, are you tracking this new news event that can affect the 30-year yield, or something that's tracking oil or something like that? It's like, oh, cool. Let me go ahead and see what I've been able to find against that. It's like, here's what we're tracking already. So they can already start having conversations. So the power of this is really cool, because it feels like it's going to keep compounding. And I feel like there's a lot of potential here. And this is why I'm really excited about it. I can see like a lot of people were watching my little vague posts on like something big is coming, and people were thinking it's the new like origins and stuff. So the Cursor team is just cooking, and like this is like the first release in a while that they've been able to do stuff, and you can get up and running incredibly fast with these Grok bots. Because to get started, all you have to do is hit this little plus and then just describe what you want the bot to do. So the bot will kick off and it'll say, cool, the new bot is working. And it's going to ask you, what do you want to do? So the bot will say, I can help you with personal assistance. I can help you with like chief of staff work. I can help you with emails. I can help you with various things. And so when it comes back with those types of things, this is kind of where you can start filling in all the little details. So this thing is currently working, spinning up a new computer. It says, What do you want me around for? Content, research, ops, something totally new, or whatever's on your mind. So in this case, when I started my general staff, at the very beginning, it says, what do you want me to help you with? And it gave me a multiple choice. And then it told me what I want to do as well. And it says like, do you want to connect your Slack to Notion? So you can connect those as well. And then you can just start to give it more tasks and so forth. So that's kind of what you can do. So all you have to do is hit the little plus sign, and then the new bot will start its conversation there. And then that's how you're going to be able to like start to control the agents and start to give them your first access there. So I suspect OpenClaw, Hermes, Buzz, etc., and all of them will have a response to this very, very soon. I hope so. You know, I think competition is amazing. So this is an incredible platform. I don't think anyone's nailed like the like native feel for agents in a way that this team has, but then using all the sauce that they've learned from all the different, you know, coding agent stuff to kind of make it blend in together as like a product, not only for the phone, but for the desktop, but also for like automating your life, right? For not only automating business, but like literally everything else you want to hand off to your life. And this is kind of why I feel like this is a huge step up compared to maybe something like ChatGPT, because ChatGPT for me feels like one entity, where Grok Bot feels like many of these little guys. And many of these little guys before used to take getting 50 Mac minis, you know, all these different resources online. You know, imagine getting a cloud computer online. It's like, oh yeah, spin up this AWS thing, make sure it's unsecure or something like that. Like, I don't have to lock down an AWS instance. I don't have to tell you how to set up an SSH, you know, box and do this stuff. And like, I could just tell my brother, just log into Grok Chat and start chatting with this thing. It's ready to go for you. Like, that is so cool. And like different from ChatGPT too, you know, so that's what I'm saying. Like this thing can start compounding. You connect your plugins, it starts to connect to your data. It starts to really, it kind of like just go off in all these great directions. So I really appreciate it. Lee Rob, what's going on, man? So good to see you. You love to see it. Oh man. So I can't wait to see what you guys are cooking with Origins and like all the other stuff, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This team is on fire. I don't think they ever leave their headquarters. But I think the other thing that I've been discovering, it's been really fun to kind of hang out, is that I'm able to do more stuff literally just by either interacting with my phone or just handing it off to these cloud agents. And that in and of itself is a feature that I don't think a lot of people describe other than just a headline feature that you see. So the fact that I can just go do work, like last night, I said, here's a massive redesign task, hand that off to the long running agent. And then this morning, the P stack, you know, potato, literally cooked for 4 hours, did the whole PR, 26 commits and everything, and come back in the morning. And all I'm doing is just kind of reviewing and playing around with the UI and giving more feedback. And I wish I would have been able to show you last night, like the chat thing, and have just been able to hand that off to a chat. And so going forward now, I can have a dedicated chat and have these agents kind of starting to interact with these things. But that is probably a bigger unlock, because now you can take your mind and use the world to get inspired and bring stuff in and say, okay, what are those things that I just want to start handing off to these types of agents? And I feel like this is a new way of working with AI agents that is a little bit different than before, and it's different than a chat, and there's a lot of capabilities. So some of these basic primitives you need are a computer in the cloud. This is really great. You don't have to think about that. You just say, go do the thing, and does it, right? Log into my thing. It's just, you don't have to think too much, right? So just kind of start having that conversation. And I feel like it gets you pretty far. How much does it cost? So it's the $200 Ultra plan, or if you have the Super Grok Heavy plan at $300 a month, that can also work. And it looks like it'll get you access to that as well. How's it going? What are we thinking about Grok Bot? I can use my Grok Bot sub with Cursor and get premium. Yeah, man, this is the time. I mean, Grok is a great agent. And if you pair that up with, you know, having GPT Soul verify the work as well, those two work really well together. It's really incredible. Or if you use the P stack thing, you're pretty much good. You know, you're just yeah. I was bummed out at the announcement at first, but this is really slick. It feels really good. It's really good. Between the desktop and the phone, it's actually really fire. So yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, shout outs to Lee. What's going on? So what's my main harness right now? You cover a lot. So my main harness is, I'll show you right now, is literally Cursor. I am so bad. So if I go to Cursor, I have a handle called Ray Fernando 1337, and so you could track my current progress right now. Guess how many tokens I've burned? To 1.5 billion. In the last 30 days, I've been going absolute monster ever since I found out about P-Stack. Look at this is the result of P-Stack, and I'm just getting started. I'm gonna try to catch up to Lauren. She has 100,000 agents in 30 days. I only have 1K, but yeah, this is like the most I did is 1.6 billion in a day. Cursor Grok is number one for obvious reasons. It's so freaking good, right? GPT Solfi 6 to verify to me is so amazing as well. Composer 2.5 is like, I don't think people really understand speed, and then using a secondary agent like Sol to kind of course correct or pop back on and verify. It is amazing, especially for like PRs and other work that just needs to get done, because you don't need the most expensive thing. And so this is kind of like, this is like the trio. I feel like this is like the God mode trio. So you have this stuff, and not to mention Kimi for UI design. So don't sleep on Kimi as well for UI design. It's really awesome. So yeah, 12.5 billion tokens. So yeah, I've been using this. I've been cursor pilled for quite some time, and the team has been shipping incredibly fast and listening to a lot of feedback. So I definitely appreciate a lot of the work that those teams have been doing, like pretty much nonstop. So you can see where I went from local to getting cloud pilled like right here. And this is a result of the P-Stack. So potato. Huge shout outs to Lauren on that. And family, we're just getting started. We're just getting started with this. So that's what's up. Yeah. I must have missed P-Stack, and I'll search it up. Yeah. Look up P-Stack from Lauren. It's definitely, that's what's up. I don't think you want to see the bill on that, Justin. I don't want to see the bill either. So I'm going to shut down the stream, right? Yeah. Wondering how fast a Grok bot eats up usage. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out right now. I think there is some usage that they're giving, and it's currently in early access / beta. So this is what they're announced right now today. So this is Grok Bot, and yeah, have fun, man. This is probably the most fun I've had in a little while, like playing around with agents, and they're actually like super helpful for everyday things. And I think, congrats to the Cursor team for like really just kind of nailing this whole experience. And there's a lot of excitement on this for good reason, I think, because it really, I feel like, changes the way that you're going to think about using these agents for your work, and the compounding effect of having these plugins work for you that connect to other connectors of your life is really going to just make it go far, right? I mean, I'm just getting started. I was like hesitant to put my Gmail and everything into it, but like it's after all the stuff that I've been experiencing, especially with like my Luma event stuff, like it made a freaking full-on back-end app for me while we were just chatting, right? It's like, it's ready to go. So by the time I start this event tonight, I'll have an app that's deployed with Next.js on Vercel with Convex and Clerk for the authentication. I never even looked at it. I just P-stacked it. I P-stacked it. Yeah, that's what's up. And it's like ready to go. I just got to put the keys in, and then I just give the everyone who shows up who wants to do a lightning talk, they just scan the QR code. I'll have a real-time database of what they're going to be talking about and the pitches and stuff, and then I'll be able to go with that. So no 4.6 today. Just the latest news is just about the Grok Bot stuff. So good question. Yeah. Is P-Stack what your videos from earlier? Yeah, so that's the video last night that I made with the cloud stuff. So that's where you can just go to sleep and let your agents work for you on the cloud. So that's the best way. Now I could just hand this stuff off into Grok here. And then, so another thing too, so I don't know if you know this. So let me just kind of go back for the folks who just joined in. The problem I had here when I was running, I'm using this in my business to run like events and so forth, right? So I have a Luma event, and in my Luma event, I have access to, like for this Grok bot, has access to a cloud computer. And having access to a cloud computer means it can just go in and start clicking around. So I can see the guests, who has registered, and it actually filled out the details for the events. So it put the details for the event for like what questions it should ask the guests and whatever interest they should be set up. So I said, hey, can you go through that whole event list with all those like 300 plus people who signed up? Let me know the people who are going and just make a dashboard for me, so I know what people are going to be wanting to like listen to the event about. Because we're doing robots, we're doing Minimax, we're doing like Swift stuff. And so it basically made this for me. It just made this dashboard from all of that data on there. It just went through and, the Grok Bot did it. I didn't have to do anything. And so now I have a better idea. It's like out of all these people who are going, there's 32 people who want to present in a Lightning demo. So that Lightning demo would just mean that like they're just going to do a presentation, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So this tells me their names, what they want to have like talking about on the coding lounge, as far as like what the participations are going to do. And so I said, man, that's a lot of people who want to do a presentation, and we're going to have maybe room for 8 people to present. Can you just go and like create an app for this so that we can download it? So they can like people just scan a QR code and just tell me what this is about. I don't want people to just like make the presentation about selling their app. I actually want a real demo. So I don't want any slide decks, any pitches or anything like that. And so it says, cool. I think we're going to arrange something for you for that. So, and then it spun this up, and then I say open in Cursor. And so it kicks it off to a Cursor cloud agent. And so what it did for me is from the Grok Bot, it spins up in Cursor cloud, does all the work for me, right? So this is a full session. It's using Opus 5 in the cloud, even merged it into main and everything using the P stack, right? And so now I have everything ready to go. And all I have to do is insert the credentials for my Convex database. And this is all just happening in the chat. I didn't have to go into Cursor's like actual website or anything like that. Just from here, you can see the power, right? From the Luma event to creating the event, just running the whole thing, all from a chat, which is insane. And so if you think that's insane, just from the desktop app, you're like, Ray, do I have to just be on the desktop? But wait, kids, there's more. You can actually have it on your phone. And this is like the most powerful paradigm. Like having all of these chats on your phone, it's so fire, right? So here's like the Luma event coordinator. This is that chat right there with the coordinator. We can see what's going on. So I could even pop it back into the Cursor chat and like pop in to take a look at the repo, take a look at the pull request, do whatever I need to do in there and just kind of have it all done in my chat. Absolutely crazy. And it's like such a like, it seems obvious, but it is that fluid and it's that good. And yeah, I mean, I'm just scratching the surface, but this is kind of what I'm telling you. Like you can start to think about these tasks, putting them into these types of systems like this, and just letting them do that work for you and just come back and check it out. So that's what's up. Yeah. Can you use your Claude subscription with GB like Buzz? No. GB being, Grok Bot. No. Grok Bot is its own thing. It's powered by Cursor Ultra. So your Cursor Ultra sub would do that. They're very generous with the Grok and Composer usage. So I imagine this will just go a long way. So I think I saw that plugins are shared and I can have different Grok Bots auth with different Google accounts. If I use one for personal, one for business. Yes. And I think there's also MCP. You can set up it because it's its own computer. You can set up MCPs and have multiple accounts connected, as someone was actually saying. Yeah. Cool. Can we see the Luma app that just got built? I can. I don't think it's going to launch right now because I need to put all the credentials in. And I actually have to head on out because it's already 2:30 because I got to start driving to the city before traffic starts to build up in the next 30 minutes. So yeah, come to the event or when I get it set up at the event, I'll let you know. And I'll probably do it for the next stream for sure. That'd be really, really cool. No, yeah, but huge shout outs to the Cursor team for allowing me to get early access. It's been really fun to play around with Grok Bot. I'm enthusiastic, not only because of that, but I really do feel like once you start to get to use a system like this and you start to understand like how fast it can move and take advantage of many things in your business, you're just going to keep throwing things at it more and more and more. And we haven't even gotten to the part where you can just click away on a computer and it records your tasks and allows you to basically continue that task in the cloud from then on forward. So similar to like what Ray, like Codex can do that, Claude can do that, but different from Grok Bot. Grok Bot has its like little entity in the cloud, and you can include that in a chat conversation. The compounding effect of what you can do with Grok Bot is really, really exciting. And I think I'm excited for y'all to get a hold of this and start playing with this too. So thanks for the sauce. Looks dope. It's just expensive. Well, if you're spending $200 a month, think about it this way. Like on Claude, and you're spending $200 a month on Codex, you're spending $200 a month in all these different places. If you're doing similar types of work in all these different platforms, if you just start to reduce them down into like one platform, it starts to kind of make more sense, right? Like $600 a month total, or start moving towards one area, right? Because Cursor gets you access to all of those models. Cursor has their own model that they're training with Grok as well. The Grok model is, to me, like Opus 4.8 level, right? I just hand tasks to it. It does it really fast. So the speed is also crazy. And they're very generous on that too. Compound that with the things I would normally do in ChatGPT Codex, which is like computer use, checking my mail messages and so forth. The only downside of Codex is their cloud stuff is not that good. Their cloud stuff needs a lot of work, right? And it's not well polished like this. Cursor has the extreme polish of cloud computer use right now, out of like all of them for doing like human-like tasks. And then the third part of it are those plugins. So if you combine all of those different things that you're doing in these different apps, it starts to kind of make sense, especially if you're a business owner. Like if all the different money to spend, if you had $200 to spend, you're starting to move towards Cursor because you can have access to these chat agents. You have access to a cloud computer that can start doing work on your behalf. So not only is this cloud computer really good for doing code related tasks, it's now getting really good, especially for Grok Bot, to do personal related tasks. So now you're basically taking all the stuff you would do in OpenClaw, right? With your own Mac Mini that you'd spend on your own hardware. You're just combining all of those things. And I feel like it's eating this up in a really good way, and it's really competitive. So if you're thinking like, well, I like to use a certain model all the time, or I get certain usage, you may still want to keep that around. Because if you're heavy in coding, definitely keep that Codex subscription around, because you definitely get a huge like number of tokens per that platform. But just think about all the other things you're using it for personal use. That's kind of like, well, I use Claude for this, and I use this to drive a computer. You're just like, well, it kind of comes around to, where do you want to put your money in? And I think if you kind of consider all the money you would spend, if you're a pro user, if you're using it for business, it's a no-brainer, right? You spend $200 in, you get 20K back or something, or 10K back, or even $200 back from what you're doing just to automate those tasks. Just think about hiring someone to do the task. You just hit the record button. Have that person that you've hired keep doing that over and over again. Let them go do bigger tasks now, right? Like now that you've been doing this, don't spend 40 hours a week clicking and filling out these forms. I want you to like figure out how to automate that, use this machine for a week or two. And then now go do more important stuff that's going to earn us better money for the business. $200 a month. That's nothing. So yeah, that's what's up. How would I compare it to Hermes agent? I would say like it's a much faster onboarding. The second part of it is the computer use. Computer use, like in the cloud, is like almost unexplainable. It's so fast because you just get up and running super quickly, and it didn't require, you figuring out what box to connect to, what other thing. You just get a computer, you start using it. It's just crazy. This is like it. I'm controlling the computer right now. I'm going to, speed test. And then here we go, speed tests. It's like, I'm not a robot. Oh no. So like, this is like actual, like a real computer in the cloud. And they're like trying to say like, hey, we've noticed this feels like a bot or something like that. So verify. Here we go. Cool. So speed test, I run the speed test. And so boom, there we go. At a data center, my connection could be horrible, but this computer has full on access at data center speeds, right? Plugged into the whole thing. And you're controlling everything. Like I can go to Google, and when I go to Google, basically my Gmail is already signed in and everything like that. And that's kind of what I can do there. So that's really, really cool. And this is kind of what I'm saying. This is the button up here where it says teach a task. That's what I'm talking about earlier, if you're wondering. So you can literally walk through a task and it'll just kind of do that whole thing for you. So crazy. Time to scale back my Claude Max. You've convinced me. Dude, I'm same way. Because if this type of thing starts doing everything that I'm doing in Claude, and it has access to the Claude models, right? I could just say, hey, go, like you saw when I kicked off a cloud task, it built it with Opus 5 in the cloud. And then it came back and it's like, boom, here you go. Here's your app. I didn't touch it. Why would I have to go to another app, spin that up, Claude code, come back, go ship it, push to GitHub, and then sync it back to a computer somewhere else? It's already ready to go. I don't think, like, that's what's crazy. Like, we're in an era where having a computer is almost going to be like having a semi truck. Do you want a semi truck all the time? You can't park that in your house anymore. A computer is useful for certain things. We're moving to this era pretty quickly where, the cloud is really going to do a lot of really good stuff extremely quickly. The agents are going to act on our behalf. This is just going to be the default paradigm. If you're a kid in school today, you're like, why do you guys have computers? I don't get it. Like, why don't you just talk to this, your watch? Because your watch it just needs an interconnection. It has a powerful computer up there. I don't know why you guys are wandering around like trying to collect these things like it's Pokemon, like just chill out, bro. I'm already feeling old, right? Like that's what I'm saying, right? Like if you have a specialized use case, having a computer will feel like carrying around a semi-truck. You're like, yeah, like that's weird. My dad just carries around this big old brick. People used to take these everywhere and like they used to be all cool to a cafe. It's like that's so passe now, because you could just interact with them over text. So yeah, definitely hit the thumbs up if y'all in the chat. That's for sure. But with T3 code, yeah, I got to try T3 code. I saw him using it at the AI engineer event on his phone. It looks so insanely good. So looked interesting. That's literally the issue I'm having, man. Too many harnesses. I have Hermes, Codex. I'm the same way. Yeah. I think with Grok Bot, this is going to be the season to kind of like thin everything down. And can I just be Grok Bot pilled as much as possible? And then I will try out certain things to see what features are on the horizon, because that's just kind of who I am. But I feel like this is that season to kind of start kind of going in this direction. And it's actually like pretty good. I know they say beta, but like it's already damn good, So yeah, I'd love to swap cursor, but losing Fable 5 at the moment would be like losing an arm. I can see that too. Fable 5 usage is pretty costly, even on these other plans as well. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see, I'm also like rethinking Fable 5 too, and I'm not really sure where this lands yet. So I think this is going to be an evolving thing. So, and I agree, like the codex subs like do allow you to do a lot. And so that's just the difference. Like if you're burning lots of tokens in terms of code generation, that's the thing. But I'm saying maybe for more general people who are like in business, I know people in business that are just using it just to rewrite emails. It's like Grok Bot, you're good. Like not only that, but it just, can connect it to do a lot of other things without a lot of that extra headache and setup that you would normally have doing that. So I think that's kind of where that's landing right now. So yeah, man. I mean, this there's so many cool things about this whole thing, so that I feel like we can kind of, I can go on for days, but yeah, I think I have to like definitely get on out. So yeah, this like there's a routine thing. This is something that will be created on your behalf. Like the agents will create it for you, or you can create it yourself. So for my guy, this is connected to an MCP server. This guy tracks my weight every single day. And so you can see my weight progress like in the app. And so it connects to an MCP server, and it has a routine that will check every morning to see if I've weighed in or not. But on top of that, it will do a recomp review. So it will look through my workspace and look through my memory and see like all the different things, whether I've submitted any DEXA scans or have any other types of stuff that I've been doing, what I've been doing with my food for the week. And then it will give me a report on Sunday for, how the week has been going and all this other stuff. So here's my Sunday check-in. So here's like, I had a cluster of my weight here. So my weight's now at 195. So not a full 7 days yet, because it's only been running for so long. And then here's my measurement for my waist and everything. So this is already just kicked off as far as a routine. I didn't have to write this routine in. And this is something that just, included in the Grok Bot, which is really crazy. So let's see the new Grok. That will be a game changer or not. Oh man, Maria, where you been? Y'all missed it. We've been live for like about an hour. Yeah. Can the computer be used by Grok and be vulnerable and hacked? So I think that's probably why they're still marketed in beta right now. It has it's running its own sandbox and so forth. And I think this is something that I would love to get some more clarity on. I know that they already have quite a bit of measures and protections within their own environments, but I would not guarantee anything to be safe at all, especially if any agent interacts with the internet. And so that's kind of why I'm really excited about this, because normally my own OpenClaw would be the one that's exposed to the internet, right? So if I'm putting a lot of data on my Mac Mini and that's the one that's searching on the internet for me, that's kind of why I'm like, whatever. So this is kind of like a different situation because of the way it's all set up. So I'm really curious. That's a really good question, and I'd be really curious to ask the team about that. So Well, if the new Grok 4.6 and the new Composer come on board, they should cover 95% of everyone's needs instead of Fable. This is going to be really interesting, and I'm really excited for even Composer 3. Composer 3 will probably be insane because that's the thing they're building from scratch. On top of everything else, this is what's cool about this space. It just keeps evolving and moving super fast. So you probably already went over this, but do you know when Grok Bot will be fully rolled out? I think it's already available if you have the Ultra plans right now. And I don't know if it's completely fully rolled out, but we'll find out more information as it gets there. So Brian, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for tuning in. OG Mega Chat Ray on stream. Let's go. Gold Rock. You even showed up at night too, which I really appreciate that, like the late night stream. So what was that you were excited about for this week? You said early in the live, this is it. This is what I'm excited about, the Grok Bot. This Grok Bot is pretty cool as far as technology and what it can do. And I think it's going to change the way that we talk with agents. And OpenClaw and these other like Hermes and so forth have been there for a while. And they've already kind of made a big change in the way people think about these things. But the polish and the feel that you want, that everyone wants for like an iOS app and so forth, hasn't really come around yet. And I think this Grok Bot is that answer, right? It's like doing that, but then being able to then make this possible for actual businesses. So this is where I feel comfortable going to my local businesses, my local businesses in my area, and telling them about, here's Grok Bot. Let's just go ahead and get this set up for you. I'm going to hit the record button on this task that you have your admin do every morning. Like, what are the reports that you usually get? Let's connect those connectors in. Here's what, you can do for routines, and like, just check your phone. It's going to send you a little message on your phone. It's good to go. It's like, it's going to blow a lot of people's minds. I think it's really cool. I think this is the moment where they're going to start to get much more wider adoption. And I think they're going to have their ChatGPT moment like now / towards the end of the year. I think it's really cool. Dude, Franco Ramos, thank you so much, man. 20 months of being a member. Dude, he's my OG member. He's one of my first members here on the stream. Grok Bot looks pretty cool for running long personal ages. I'm setting it up for a daily personal use summary with Hacker News and Product Hunt. Yeah. We're all just scratching the surface right now. 90% prime potato armies. Yeah, the potato stack, the P stack is so good. Cursor Ultra plan in this new bot. So yeah, you need the Ultra plan or the Grok Heavy plan. So the $200 Ultra plan or the $300 Grok Heavy plan. You pick your thing. You can definitely get that. Does it have conversational mode or is it just Grok? Right now, it's whatever the mode is that's in there. I don't know if it's conversational or not. It feels pretty natural. It doesn't feel like I'm talking to some weirdo or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. So yeah. No, thank you guys for tuning in the stream. I got to head out to San Francisco to get there before traffic to check out this event. If you haven't had a chance, pull up. I'll be at the Convex headquarters. I have a Luma event. It's called the AIOS Meetup. So if you're interested in checking out what's happening in iOS or Swift, or if you're still new to vibe coding and maybe you've been coding in React Native and you want to learn a little bit more about Swift, there's going to be a lot of people who are really into Swift there. One of the reasons I would suggest you start to code in Swift is because the App Store submissions would prefer apps in Swift over React Native because like it's just Apple's thing. If you want to be featured in the App Store, more than likely the apps they're going to feature are all the apps that use the latest like iOS 26 primitives and all the different frameworks and stuff like that. So if you have a nicely designed app and it uses iOS 26, even though it was generated with AI, your app is going to stand out a lot more just because of the look, but also because of like the stuff that you're using, and like the reviewers tend to favor those things as well. If you struggle to ship apps to the App Store, I would definitely highly suggest you check out this thing called Bitrig, Bitrig. I've been starting to use it recently. It's really, really good. And it can help you ship stuff to the App Store. I'm going to continue my app building challenge with Swift and just do it all automated through that. And I'm going to be shipping as part of this thing called Ship-a-Ton. And so I'll be going into more details like that in future streams and throughout this week, because my goal is to get my first app in the App Store as a non-Fruit employee. Now that I've not been there for several years and stuff like that. And it'd be kind of fun. And I'm just starting out really simple with things that I need every day and just kind of get my arm wet as far as like, shipping apps and publishing them to the store. So hopefully everyone has an amazing day, and hopefully you got to check out this new Grok thing. I'm super excited about it. Huge congratulations to the Cursor team and everyone who's been working sleepless days and nights trying to get this out the door and getting in front of people. I think you guys did an incredible job. And I'm excited for everyone else here to go ahead and play with it. I think it's going to really change the way you think about using AI in your business. And you can get up and running extremely fast just by getting an account, start talking with this thing and start to just hand off those connectors. And you'll start to see the power of this, in your business. All right, y'all. Peace out.